Hey everybody, welcome back. Another response here for you. This one to a young lady who's given us tips on how to overcome our fear of flying. And who doesn't have some fear of flying? If you aren't afraid of flying, either I don't believe you, either you're lying, or you're unaware of the anxiety. Oh really? You make it through it red-eye, getting 8 hours of sleep, no problem, just conk out and you don't feel miserable for the next 3 days? Or do you get 2 hours of sleep and you're constantly adjusting, can't sit still? Yeah, it's the latter, right? That's anxiety. That's called anxiety. That's discomfort, a little bit at ease. Look, you're in a metal tube, flying 30,000 feet, going 500 miles an hour. You're going to be a little bit anxious. It's fine. But the tips that she recommends, I think, may only be helpful in a certain context and overall may do nothing at all to help you manage anxiety, which is ultimately the goal. All right, let's see what she has to say.
Tip number 1, lower your baseline anxiety. This tip I think is the most obvious and probably is most people's go-to, but doing things that are going to lower your baseline anxiety, like deep breathing or meditation or medication. I like to use a technique called box breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. You see? It makes a box. And I also avoid caffeine before all flights because caffeine amps you up and I need to be cooled down.
All right, no coffee, not bad. Maybe a helpful suggestion. Not going to say too much now. This may dovetail into some other suggestions and we'll make a broader point. Let her make a few more points here.
Number 2. Oh, I think the lighting's about to get crazy. Sorry. Understand your triggers. I know that a huge trigger for my anxiety and my panic attacks is seeing the entire interior of the plane. So when I walk onto the plane, I always have my eyes lowered. I look at the ground because I know that for whatever reason, something about looking up and seeing all of the people and all of the seats in the plane sets me off. So figuring out what your triggers are can help you to better understand them, better avoid them, and also be better prepared for your reaction if you are exposed to them. 3, nice and simple one, close the window. I cannot look at the wing of the plane when we are flying. I can't do it. That freaks me out so much. I can't. So to keep things simple, I just close the window. And that also helps with the next tip, which is 4, imagining that you're somewhere else. I like to imagine that I'm on a train because I've always felt really safe on trains, especially during turbulence. I'll close my eyes and I'll pretend that rocking motion is just the normal motion of the...
That was 2 through 4. Avoid your triggers. Close the window. Imagine you're elsewhere. In a sense, distract yourself from the fear. I know this helps to feel good in the short term, but in the long term, what's the ultimate goal with anxiety? Is it to just go around avoiding it? That actually increases the anxiety. Now, I understand when you're in a difficult position to get yourself, out of an extremely anxious situation, it may be helpful to do one of these things, only to later go back and say, okay, the next flight, I'm not going to close the window. Next flight, I'm not going to meditate, pretend I'm on a bus. I'm actually going to get more in touch with the fact that I'm flying in a metal tube at 30,000 feet, going 500 miles an hour. So this has nothing to do with managing anxiety or helping you with anxiety, and everything to do with getting you through a short-term specific situation that is extremely stressful. Those are 2 completely different things. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm picking on her so much, but this is orthodox teaching in the CBT orthodoxy that we're in right now in psychology, especially academia psychology. Whoever's winning the next award at the ABCT conference, he would look at these tips, 2 through 4. There may be some more here, but 2 through 4 for right now, he'll look at these and go, yeah, that's really good. That's what I would recommend to one of my clients. Kind of confront the anxiety. This is sort of like exposure therapy, which of course can be helpful in a certain context, but also not really. Exposure therapy, but avoid your triggers, close the window, and imagine you're on a bus. All right, continuing.
Tip number 5 is one of my personal favorites. We all know that planes are some of the most uncomfortable places to sleep ever. And so if the space that I'm in isn't big enough for me to have a pillow and lay down, like it was on the Air New Zealand flights, if I don't have a space as comfy as I did with Air New Zealand, then I'll take my bag and I'll sleep on that on my lap. Now let me show you what I mean here. This is the bag that I take on as my personal item. I only fly with carry-on. I don't check any bags. So I have my little carry-on suitcase, and then I also have this Herschel backpack. This is a decent sized backpack. When I fill this puppy up, I put everything hard and heavy down at the bottom, and then at the top I'll put my sweater and my jacket. It fits nice and easy under the seat in front of me, and once we've taken off, I'll pull it out and I'll put it on my lap facing me, and would you look at that? It's the perfect height to be a little headrest. I'll hook my arms through the straps like this, so that when I relax my arms, they hook and hold themselves, so my arms aren't like falling at my sides. So I hook myself in like this, and I'll take my sweater and my jacket out and put them on top, and I'm asleep in 2 minutes. I'm gonna call this one. It's genius.
Yeah, it's a really good tip, actually. Get a huge backpack and put stuff in it and lean on it like that. That's great. Okay. But this isn't really dealing with anxiety. This is just like you're in a closed space. There's going to be some discomfort to it. I mean, if you really want to get tough about this, then you would totally remove all extraneous comfort. But I understand that, I mean, this can be helpful. So, great tip. Do that.
Number 6, distraction, distraction, distraction. Anything that you can do to distract yourself from the fact that you're flying on an airplane is A+. Download movies onto your computer or your tablet or your phone or whatever. Download podcasts, download audiobooks. Anything that you can watch, read, listen to that's going to take your mind off of your fear is huge. Not to mention, they make the time fly by.
And here we are back to the maybe not so helpful tips. I mean, she just comes out and says it here, distraction. Just distract yourself from the fear. She says it literally, keep your mind off the fear. That does not help with anxiety. Get more in touch with the fear. I've said it a million times. I'm going to say it a million more. Your main problem with anxiety is that you think that there's a problem. If you think anxiety is the problem, then you're going to keep your mind off of it. You're going to constantly distract yourself. By the way, I'm not saying I don't do these things too. I'm not saying I don't distract myself on a flight. I just want to make that very clear. But what else we have to make clear is that distracting yourself does not help you with the anxiety. Feel the anxiety, get more in touch with it. That's how you manage it. Anything else you do, the anxiety is going to grow. Continuing.
Number 7, come up with a personal mantra. My mantra that I like to use on flights and in any time that I have anxiety are the words, right now, I'm okay. Because it's true. No matter what's happening, right now, I'm okay. And so when I get onto a flight, when we're taking off, when I start to get nervous about what that sound was, I close my eyes and I repeat to myself, right now, I'm okay. Because I am.
Okay, this can be helpful. Having a mantra. And I think the mantra that she has here, right now, I'm okay. Yeah, what she says. What I like about this is that it's true. It's 100% true. Something I tell myself, I guess you could say it's a mantra that I have is, well, I mean, I say it a bunch of different ways, but it's essentially, I am built for this situation. My mind is constructed. I am supposed to be here. My mind is built for this reality. My mind is built to handle this problem, whatever it is. And I like that because, like she says, it's true. It's not some positive affirmation, create your own reality. It is reality. Right now, you are okay. My mind is built for this situation. If I'm going through any intense and anxious moment, I go, okay, this is what my mind's supposed to do. This is what I've been doing my entire life. This is what my ancestors have been doing for their entire lives before me. I am built to manage this anxiety. If you look at the brain, that's what it's meant to do. Fact. So yeah, good tip there. Continuing.
Number 8. Ow. Look at the flight attendants. Are the flight attendants calm? Then everything's probably okay. Building on that, if flying makes you nervous, tell the flight attendants that. They've been trained to handle a wide variety of situations, and they are well equipped to deal with people who are nervous to fly. If you have a travel buddy, tell them. The support of another person, whether it's your travel partner, a flight attendant, a stranger, can be really helpful when you get nervous.
Yeah, this is something that seems innocuous, but it's really not helpful. Do not tell the flight attendants that you're anxious. And there's a little clip. She doesn't say to hold your boyfriend's hand or to hold a stranger's hand, but do not touch anybody when you're freaking out with anxiety, especially when you're going through some kind of anxiety attack. This is for you to manage on your own, for you to breathe through on your own. I mean, this is what we want to do when we're feeling anxious, is we want to move around. You know, we want to change our position. We maybe want to drink something like, oh, this will help, or change what we're doing. But the challenge when you're feeling this anxiety is to sit still, feel it, enjoy it, accept it, love it, breathe through it. Because, right, your mind is meant to manage it. That's what my mantra is, right? That's what you tell yourself because it's true. You are built to deal with this situation. It's for nobody else to deal with. Now, this is different than talking through your anxiety in a mature way. You do need somebody else for that at some point, but if you're telling the flight attendants that you have anxiety, or you're telling the stranger sitting next to your boyfriend or girlfriend, you are in a sense in that moment saying, here, you take my anxiety, help me manage it. That's not what they're there for. What they're there for is, here, I'm going to talk through my anxiety, and that's going to help you. Completely different. For more information on that, I have a video on how to manage panic attacks and what they're really telling you, and I'll link that in the description there. All right, continuing.
Number 9, trust the pilot. This is another mental exercise that I like to use. When I start to get terrified about flying and the dangers of flying, I remind myself that this is something that the pilots do every single day and that they wouldn't do this as a job if they thought that they were in danger. Not only are they highly trained to fly a plane and to keep everybody on that plane safe, but they want to be safe too. If they thought that there was anything wrong with flying or that there was anything wrong with the plane that day, they wouldn't be there flying it. I know it's hard, but you got to give up some of that control and trust the pilots.
Yeah, that's a final tip, because again, it's true. It's similar to the mantra. It's true. Yeah, trust the pilots because, or just trust the fact that flying is incredibly safe. Just look at the facts. Remind yourself of what reality is in a way that's an affirmation and a helpful one at that. All right, last tip here, continuing.
And lastly, number 10, don't just sit in your seat the whole time. Get up, walk around, stretch. This one isn't particularly helpful for me. See tip number 2, knowing your triggers. But in general, walking around is really good for releasing some of that pent-up anxiety, and gentle stretching is good for calming your nerves.
And again, we're going back to the distraction. Walk around, release the nervous energy, or get comfortable with the nervous energy, because that's reality. That's the reality of what you're going through, and that's what you need to deal with to manage your anxiety. And that's really the main point here, right? Look, you can do these things, and they can be helpful in the short term. And again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm just this super managing anxiety guy, and I can go and then I get through an entire flight without watching a movie. No, I do, and I find myself watching stupid movies on a plane. And I wouldn't be doing that if I wasn't feeling anxious and trying to distract myself from it. However, at the same time, let's also understand that we're not really managing our anxiety when we do that. These aren't tips for managing these anxiety. These are tips for avoiding anxiety. And when we avoid anxiety, it grows. We avoid the lizard and it turns into a dragon. That's how our mind works. So use these to get through a flight, and then when you're done with that flight, go, geez, why do I have to distract myself from reality to get through something that's pretty much as safe as sitting in my living room? And yeah, with that question is when the real work begins.